Okay, welcome to Randolph and Martin's Friday Night Sports Talk. Tonight, we're going to be talking boxing. We're going to be talking Connor Benn and his rise up to the next level after absolutely pulverizing Samuel Vargas. We've also got some women's boxing and some Premier League. How's it going, Martin? How are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. Bit hectic because me and my girlfriend just signed for a house in Chester, so it's quite handy now. I'm allowed to travel across the border and see the place. But yeah, just sorting all the paperwork and that, you know exactly what it's like. But I had a little trip to IKEA the other day as well, and the 3 desks I was looking at and some other furniture was not in stock. I was able to buy some bedroom furniture in another colour though, so a bit sparse at the minute. I'd have thought they'd have been able to restock within a year, because I went about a year ago and it was the same deal because everyone had been on a DIY craze, and that Ella was after a wardrobe and we had to get them to make one up from scratch for us. It ended up costing like 800 quid or something, and it barely fit in me little Fiesta as well. I had to get me canoe rope and just tie the back of the boot down to the clip, bobbing down the M56. Didn't get pulled over, thankfully. But how was your week anyway, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, to be fair. I watched the Connor Benn fight and Ebanie Bridges Courtenay fight. Seen a bit of football, played a bit of golf. So yeah, sporty weekend really, because golf courses are back open now. So been able to get back into that, which is good. But did you see the? So if we start off with the Connor Benn fight, I think the women's fights were. There's a lot more to talk about with that. But Connor Benn, Samuel Vargas. What were your thoughts?
I thought Connor Benn was fantastic on Saturday. I was dual screening, as I do sometimes when they start the MMA early, because they had it on at because there was an English lad that meant to be headlining, so they had it on early. So I don't mind doing that. But was it 82 seconds he stopped Vargas in? I think it was a fantastic finish. He just came out. I thought I think a lot of people were saying before the fight it was going to be probably the toughest test he's faced. I think we said that last week as well. I think Vargas went the distance with Sean Porter. I can't remember how long ago, but it's not a bad person to take to the scorecards, is it? I think has he moved on to 18-0 or something now, and I think he's the 4th boxer that stopped Vargas. And yeah, I think he didn't look so good in his last fight, and I think a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it was a bit of a jump up," and he sort of got it together towards the end and got it was a decision, I think, his last fight. This fight, I think, it might be a bit more of the same. He struggles early on, pulls it back together. No, just came out, looked really aggressive, really fast. Do you think it was maybe a bit of an early stoppage, though? I saw a few people maybe suggesting, but he was hitting him quite hard for quite a while, or like quite a few seconds up against the ropes. He was sort of bobbing away, but he wasn't covering up, but he wasn't really sort of swinging back or anything. Was half expecting the referee to step in, but maybe a bit early, would you say? What was your opinion on it?
No, I thought it was bang on. I thought if you look at the close-ups, the guy was out on his feet.
Yeah.
He recovered really quickly because within a second of the ref putting his hands up, he was questioning it himself. But his lights were out. If Ben if he let him carry on, and Ben's a powerful puncher, and he caught him with flush with 4, 5, 6 punches. If he hit him with a couple of more, the guy could have been hospitalized. I thought it was absolutely bang on. If the ropes hadn't been there, he'd have been on the floor. I think he put him out probably 2 or 3 punches before then, and then caught him with another couple. I think the last one that caught him, it rocked his head back and he was out. So for me, 100% the right time. I think he gave him. The ref gave him a couple. He could have stopped it maybe 2 or 3 punches before, but he left it go a couple just to see. Hold on, this. The guy's, as you said, he's fought Porter. He's got his CV is a lot better than Ben's and a lot better than a lot of the middleweights. I was looking. We'll move on to this a bit later, but I was looking at the CV of Demetrius Andrade, who's fighting Liam Williams on Saturday. And if you look at the names on his CV, there isn't one. Liam Williams is, he's a decent opponent, and he's only ever lost against Liam Smith. But this is Andrade's biggest named opponent. He's fought most of his fighters in America, and he hasn't got a single name on there. If I could read out the 28 names to you, and you wouldn't have heard of one of them. And he's a world champion, and he's 29-0. So we'll come back to him. If he'd had Samuel Vargas on his resume, Vargas would have been his toughest opponent. So for Connor Benn to put him out in 82 seconds, for me, I'd look at it in two ways. One, you mentioned Ben's last fight. I think he was a Frenchman, or that might have been the one before, where he put Ben on his arse, and then Ben got up and beat him. So there's definitely a frailty there with his chin. Whether it was a lucky punch, I don't know, but he's improved a hell of a lot, because obviously Vargas is his toughest opponent. His jab looked strong. He looked like he had a stiff jab on him. Caught him early on, as in, I know we're saying he knocked him out in 80 odd seconds, but he caught him within 30 seconds. He hit him with a straight right. He hit him with a right hook maybe 20 odd seconds later, and it was like, oh, hold on. It's one of those where if he hadn't caught him with that combination at the end and put him down, and it had gone I would have liked to have seen it gone a couple of rounds for Vargas to maybe get into it, I think, and then test Ben. Really, that it's one of those where he's got a really fast start. Vargas is in a different country. He's caught him flush with some cracking punches, and he's got him out of there early. Yeah. I'd have liked him not to get him out there early and see how he would have boxed after 3 or 4 rounds. He's. I don't know whether it's him or whether it's the management, but he was. Amir Khan was mentioned after the fight. Kell Brook, for me, they we can. That's another subject, but for me, well, what are your thoughts? Where would you say he should go from here? They're the guys near world class. He's fought world class. He's lost against world class, and Ben's knocked him out of there in less than a round. So what would your progression be now? Where would you go next?
It's interesting you said that Amir Khan and Kell Brook. What weight do they fight at? Is it super welterweight or are they natural welterweight? Because I don't reckon Connor Benn, at least now anyway, with his lack of amateur pedigree and that, I don't know if he'd be able to move up right now. I don't know if he'd need a couple more fights and a bit of time to actually get used to fighting at a different weight, because I think sometimes you need the extra. I know it's in boxing, you have smaller weight classes, so the weight difference isn't as much on your body, but if you're going into fights and you're going into the later rounds, you are going to sort of get the lactic acid and the blood building up in your muscles, and it'll slow you down. And, if you can learn that over a progression of years, as opposed to in 1 or 2 camps for fights at different weights, I'm just a bit unsure who'd be next for him, really. I think I always try and see what Costello and Bunce have to say, because they're quite good for throwing matchmaking ideas around. On their podcast, they were saying maybe Jesse Vargas, because he's another one like
isn't he
Samuel Vargas, isn't he? Then
fighting soon, isn't he? Who's Jesse Vargas is fighting? He's got an opponent, isn't he? I think.
Not entirely sure. I'll have a quick look right now, but he lost to Pacquiao in a title fight before. I think it was on the points.
Well, Ben is a welterweight, so that's 147 pounds. I think Khan is 147 pounds. Brook, he's more of a 154. He struggles now to get down to 147. I thought, he moved up to 160, regrettably, to fight Golovkin. And he's also fought, Amir Khan's moved up to 160 to fight Canelo Alvarez. You can't move up. Alvarez has been up now he's fought Kovalev, 2 weights above and beaten him. So to come back down at 160, and to think that Amir Khan, he's probably too big for welterweight, but too small for middleweight. He's in between. He's the 154 weight. He's the catch weight. But to see, I would have thought Khan would have been a 147 against Connor Benn, whereas I can't see Brook stepping back down today. He struggled in his last fight. Who did he fight? He lost against Errol Spence, who's, pound for pound top 10 fighter. He lost against Golovkin, pound for pound top 10 fighter, and he's broken both of his eye sockets. And in his last fight, he was a shadow of himself. He needs to, he was a very good fighter. He won a world title. He beat Sean Porter. Was it Porter? It was. He beat Sean Porter.
Yeah.
To win the world title. He's had his time at the top. Quit while you're ahead. There's no point trying now. He's lost that. He's obviously still got the appetite. He still wants to do it, but it's like a footballer that needs to retire, but is hanging on and moves down to Division 1 and to try and stay playing in the game. And I think with Brook, he's had his time. He was fantastic, and now he needs to leave it alone. Whereas with Amir Khan, he's still young, but he's and yes, he won a world title. But if you look at his, I like to look at people's stats, and when you look at his CV, I think Devon Alexander and Marcus Maidana are his two, defining fights for wins. But every other time, they're not. He beat. Maidana is a world-class contender, but he's not world-class. He's slightly below. He had a good fight against Floyd Mayweather. He tested him for a good few rounds. But when you look at, there's the elite level like Mayweather in those kind of weights, Mayweather and people like that, Pacquiao, Spence, Crawford, and then you've got the next level who are just contenders. They're not going to win the world title. Amir Khan, as I say, he did well in the Olympics. He did well, beating, 2 or 3 world-class fighters, and he won a world title. But then when you come up against proper world champions who've been there 4, 5, 6, 7 years, defended them, then you're going to fall short. He fell, Terence Crawford, pound for pound, top 3, annihilated him. Moved up to fight Alvarez, for a paycheck, annihilated him. For me, there's not many people who are. You've got to have a chin for a start. To be world class. You look at, if you watch Golovkin fight against Canelo, they could have stood there with their arms behind their back, and with their arms behind their back, you punched me, hit me on the chin, and they just took it. Whereas if Amir Khan did that, he'd be sleeping for a week, and that's the difference for me. So I believe that the only. It's a tough one. I don't think either of them will fight Connor Benn because they're both onto a loser. For me, I don't think either of them will.
No, definitely not. I think it was Crawford who beat Kell Brook last time.
Yeah.
I think Adrian Broner won fairly recently. I don't think he was matched. Was it Santiago he was matched up against? I can't quite remember. I don't know. I think someone like Broner might even be sort of a step too far up for Ben at the minute. You look at how Josh Kelly did against David Avanesian. Maybe going back to what you said before when we were talking about if the fight went on a bit longer this weekend, potentially it could have been sort of a similar situation to Josh Kelly and vice versa. If he'd have got Avanesian out of there early, we wouldn't be talking about, he's been overmatched too quickly and it was a step too far for him. Could easily be the other way around for Connor Benn. I don't know if I'm drawing too much of it, I'm circling around too much to make a comparison there, but do you think maybe a decent European level fighter like Avanesian, because I think he's a welterweight or thereabouts, isn't he? Or is it super featherweight? I can't quite remember.
I think he is, because Josh Kelly was calling out Connor Benn, so they've got to be there or thereabouts.
There's one there, maybe.
I agree with European. I wouldn't go as far as Avanesian. I think that's the mistake that Josh Kelly made. He's another one of these British fighters. They've had 10, 11 fights. I had an interview on the weekend with Women's Fight News, and this point came up that. Again, we'll come on to the women's one in a bit, but I just think that 10 to 15 fights to be thrown in at a European champion, You know, Avanesian, he's one of those that's slightly below world class, but he's a good stepping stone. But he's not a good stepping stone for somebody that's only had 10 fights. You know, you think you're above your station. You know, Josh Kelly, you know, he's always, there was talk, oh, he's going to be world level next. Well, where is he now? You know, you've got to take baby steps. You've got to learn your trade. And you don't learn your trade after, you learn a different trade in amateur. You learn how to box. But when it's professional, where every single fighter you're coming up against trains every day for 3 months or 2 months in a fight camp, they don't have, it's totally different to amateurs where they, by definition, they're amateurs. It's not their living. So when you switch to pro and you're training pretty much every day, twice a day, then people can improve a hell of a lot. So to have 10 fights and then think you're the dogs, well, you know, you're not. And it's happening time and time again with these British ones. They're being pushed in, for me, too early, and they're getting found out. So an ideal situation, you just mentioned European level. Yeah, but 2 or 3 European fights, you know, European level, not European champions, not, you know, Avanesian he was, you know, to be fair, Kelly fought really well, 3 or 4 rounds, but Amir Khan fought Canelo, was fantastic for 2 or 3 rounds. You can do it for so long, but then you're going to get clipped. And Avanesian was like a pit bull. He was on, full for 12 rounds. Oh, no, until they threw the towel in, didn't they?
6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, they threw the towel in after 6 or 7 rounds. So I'd go for a level just below him. You know, another Vargas kind of, somebody like Vargas who has fought the best, come up short. Somebody that will test him for more. You know, as I say, it was only a round. So get somebody in there who can last 4 or 5 rounds just to test him a couple of times. Get the rounds. Get another 25, 30 rounds under your belt, and then move up to the next level. You know, have another 5 or 6 fights. Don't push yourself because you don't want that. You don't want to lose a fight. You know, you look at these top fighters in 10 years' time. You know, you think, yeah, Floyd Mayweather 49-0, Calzaghe 46-0. You want to keep your own. You don't want to be avoiding anybody, but you don't want it at this point in your career because he's got a lot of potential. But that's what it is potential for me. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. It's been saying it about him constantly. And most other young British fighters, you just don't want too much too soon, do you?
No.
I agree with you though. He should 4 or 5, maybe even 6 European fights to get himself ready for a European title shot, and then you start working towards an intercontinental title maybe. And he's always going to get eyes to his fights as well, being the draw that he is, Nigel Benn's son, and he's a good looking chap. He's going to have a good bloody following on social media like Joshua does with the ladies as well. So, you know, things like that are always going to benefit yourself as a brand. He just needs to focus entirely on his boxing skill, like you said before. It's not great that he doesn't have as deep an amateur pedigree as, say, like Lomachenko or Canelo, for example, but he's shown in this fight he's got some serious power fighting someone who's, you know, gone the distance with some really good fighters, as we've said before. Yeah. I think he's only been stopped 4 times now. Ben was the 4th man to stop him, so that's had probably 30 odd professional fights at this point, Vargas. Yeah, he just needs to keep acquiring the boxing skills, maybe fighting, you know, like they've sort of how they used to build a fighter before all the money and that started coming into it, and they just could talk your way through Twitter into a fight someone who can come inside a bit more, fight someone who's a bit more of a rangier fighter, fight a couple, is he orthodox or southpaw, maybe fight a southpaw, fight whichever one he's less comfortable with, fight someone who's a bit more fluid and switches stances. Just needs to focus on keep building his skills as a boxer, but he's definitely on the right track. Like 82 seconds, you don't just walk into a gym and do that, do you? No. Unless you're someone like Francis Ngannou maybe, but I still thought the fight of the night for me was Courtney Bridges. That was despite do you remember the state of Ebanie Bridges' eye after, was it the 7th or the 8th round? So I've just moved the conversation onto that without that ended the Connor Benn discussion. But wow, that was a cracking fight. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, no, it was good. You know, as we've had, you know, Ebanie Bridges has been interviewed on Sport and Area, you know, a good few months back, and the build up, the weigh in, all the talk from Shannon Courtenay, and it was, for me, the build up was good. The face off, it was all building up nicely. We've seen Courtenay fight before. Lost against Rachel Ball, who's a tall, rangy boxer, whereas these two, there's kind of like the match was good. The matchup was good. They're both roughly the same size. They're both just bangers. They're both punchers. And I thought Bridges fought really well. I thought it was, the scorecards were miles off. I thought it was a draw coming into the last 2 rounds. Obviously, Ebanie's eye, she got, there was a clash of heads, a big clash of heads in the 7th, and her eye came up. And then from the 9th and 10th or 8th, 9th, she couldn't see. And she lost the last 2 rounds. So it was a fair result, but even the Sky, I can't remember his name, but the ringside commentator, I thought he was poor. He was totally in Shannon Courtenay's corner, points wise. I'm thinking, you either haven't got a clue or you're just being really biased. Because Macklin was okay; he was pretty good on the commentary. He was calling it as pretty much as it was, as it was going. I thought Bridges was really good on the inside. She, uppercuts, plenty of uppercuts, which were catching Courtenay. And I thought, if Courtenay's going to learn from this fight, it was more of, she was better on the outside, but for some reason she kept coming inside and was coming off second best. But it was a slugfest. It was a cracking fight to watch. And now I think she's probably going to move on and fight Ball if she's recovered from her long COVID or not. Or she might take a fight before then to stay active. But I thought, it was a brilliant fight. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh, fantastic. 10th round, especially considering Ebanie couldn't see for the last 2 rounds. I thought, could have potentially been one of the rounds of the year, not just in women's boxing and all the fights I've seen this year, I have to say. Yeah. I agree with you. It was super even going into the last 2. I'd probably give it 6-4 as well to Courtenay, in fairness, but you couldn't see for the last 2 rounds, and you've had Daniel Dubois and someone else quitting because of an eye injury fairly recently. So fair play to her for cracking on with that. That's I thought it was quite even. Maybe in the 5th, Courtenay started pulling away a little bit more. I think she cracked her with a really, really good right hand against the rope. Sort of went over the top of her guard, and she did. Bridges did sort of sink maybe 6 inches after that one. But I thought the commentary was quite biased as well, to be fair. I don't. I think sometimes the Sky teams can be a bit biased towards the UK fighter. I know Bridges does have quite a big following in the UK. I think most of the fans on Twitter were seeming to root for her, actually. Like you said as well, the build-up was absolutely brilliant. I finished work just as I was playing about on my computer after I stumbled on YouTube and found the little presser they were doing in the interviews that was being live streamed at the time, so I tuned into that, and it's quite feisty actually. A lot of curse words before the watershed, and the whole thing about the lingerie discussion. I thought they were making whole meal out of that. It's the fact that they're drawing attention to it really takes away from the fact that it's a women's boxing match, and look at the fight that it produced. That's what we should be talking about, and that's what we have been speaking about until I brought that up. But it was on topic, in fairness. Cracking fight all around. Was for a title as well. Was it a WBA World Bantamweight title?
Yes, it's the world title. I think going back to, like I say, the build up and the weigh in. When you live in Australia, you're a woman fighter. There is no exposure whatsoever. So you've got to find a way of promoting yourself. And back in last September, I had a long message conversation with Bridges regarding how she's going to get to the UK, sponsorship, because she didn't have sponsorship, whether she was going to come to London to train, or Manchester. She didn't even know how far Manchester was from London. So she's a black belt karate. She's an ex-kickboxer. 8 years bodybuilding, champion. So you saw the strength on Saturday night. But I just think that she's harnessed the power of Instagram and Twitter to get herself a world title fight. At the beginning, but she showed that she's got the ability. But until you saw her fight, you didn't know whether she had the ability or not. But she's harnessed the power of social media and weighing in lingerie, all that kind of stuff, to get her on the platform to show her boxing skills. And it was there, and it was a little bit. I'd say there was, they've only fought. One had fought 6 times, one had fought 5 times. So they're very inexperienced, especially to be fighting for a world title. But I thought that she showed experience when she did dip after that punch in the 6th or 7th. She grabbed hold. Whereas when you look at somebody like Josh Kelly, who was badly injured in whatever it was, the 4th or 5th, he tried to fight his way out of it. So, there was more experience in that women's fight than there was in that men's fight. So I thought that she held her head high, and Courtenay fought well on the outside. She was sharper, her punches were quicker, but the momentum was with Bridges going forward, and it all depends on what the judges are looking for. But as being impartial and looking from the outside, it was, and I've spoken to quite a few people, it was definitely 50-50, 4 rounds each, or 5. Yeah, 4 rounds each going into the last 2. But yeah, cracking fight. And then the Marshall, did you see the Savannah Marshall then?
I didn't see the Savannah Marshall one. I was watching one of the UFC fights at the time, but I heard it was a pretty good knockout, was it?
The woman's never been knocked out before.
Is she not the opponent?
No,
fair play.
Not Lingard. She was
a late replacement, was she?
Yeah. She was. I looked at her, her stats, and I think she'd lost a few. Not many, 3 or 4, but she'd never been stopped, and Savannah wiped her out in 2 rounds. It looked big, strong, rangy, kind of a bit like if you had to compare her, I would have said like Lawrence Okolie type fighter, very powerful, and if you look at the fight on YouTube, if you do go back and look at it, she catches the opponent in the 2nd round, big punch, bang on the chin, but it didn't look powerful at all. It was all timing, and when you see it, and you watch it back, repeat it, it was all timing. It was bang on line, and then I started thinking about her and Clarissa Shields, because she's been putting a bit of, since the fight, quite a lot of stuff on there about Marshall, or, why should I fight her? She had 20 losses in amateur and this, that, and the other. But, Marshall beat Shields in the Olympics. She's unbeaten in the pros, and her knockout percentage is far higher than Shields, which I was surprised at, because when you watch Shields fight, she's like a bit of a bulldog, bit of a Tyson-esque style, but she's knocked out 2 or 3 opponents. She's went the distance loads of times, whereas Marshall's knocked out a lot more. So it's an intriguing fight, and I just hope that Shields doesn't expect the world money-wise. I know she's asking for a fortune, but I don't know how much. We don't know what the figures are, but apparently Eddie Hearn knows what the figures are. So we'll see what he comes back with.
If Clarissa Shields wins the PFL season, because she's making a MMA debut, I think the 10th of July, or is it 10th of June? 10th of June, sorry. June, yeah. And they have it for the men's division, so I'm assuming they have it for the women's divisions as well, because they operate like a league table, just like a round robin, so you fight everyone in the division once. Then whoever's top, or the top 2, have like a final fight, and then the winner wins $1 million. So she wins $1 million in the PFL, maybe the contract disputes won't be as bad, or maybe she'll be asking for even more. So I don't know how well she'll be able to box if she's having to squeeze like 4 or 5 cage fights into a year, but she's been where's she been training? I think it's Jackson Wink MMA. So you've had like John Jones, Holly Holm, a couple of different world champions training out of there, New Mexico. So good good natural environment to get your cardio in and good gym to be working at to learn sort of the different aspects of MMA. What you said about her not really knocking people out is fair. And that's one of the main things that's impressed me about Savannah Marshall, what I've seen and what I've read about her. It's seemed quite rare in women's boxing that you have sort of one-shot knockouts, then more finishes by like a barrage of punches. And so, like you said with Savannah's knockout there, I obviously haven't seen it, but if it's a well-timed one shot, perfectly timed, placed on the chin, lights on, clearly got some skills that maybe a lot of the other women haven't managed to develop in their division, or so the skill isn't quite there, or it's a natural thing, I think, timing and power, things like that. It sort of all comes together. But that fight against Shields, that's the big money fight, and she a 2-weight world champion, Shields, I think, in boxing, or is it 3-weight world champion?
I think it's 3. I think, but for me, it's more of a case of there's some good fighters around. You've got the Serrano sisters, Katie Taylor. They're moving up 2 or 3 weights, coming down 2 or 3 weights to fight. And there's not a lot of competition because it's a young sport. So you've only, as I said, I was talking to Women's Fight News on Sunday, and that was the conversation that comes up when Marshall fights Shields. Whoever wins, what's next for them? Because there's nothing out there in their division. You'll get a unified champion like Serrano she's 7 division world champion, Amanda Serrano. Does she step down and fight Katie Taylor if Taylor wins? Because she's fighting Jonas, and she's fighting in at some point very soon. So it's coming together nicely, but these top fighters, don't price yourself out of the market. You haven't got the it's not as marketable as the men's heavyweight Tyson Fury Joshua fight that's going to happen soon. So you're not going to pick up 100 million quid for a fight or whatever. Yes, you get paid very good money, and ask for what you're worth, and you'll get it, but they're not going to pay you 10 million, 20 million, 30. I don't know what people are expecting. But I know judging by Shields' Twitter page, she's asking for big money, but to me, I don't know what big money is. I don't know if she's asking for £1 million and the pay-per-view was going to bring in 50 million for the promoters, then pay her 2, 3, 4 million. She's world champion. She's proven her worth. So, pay her the money. And what shouldn't happen in women's boxing is what's happened over the years in men's boxing, where the big fights like Pacquiao, Mayweather, Brooke and Khan, they haven't happened in their prime because of the politics in boxing. Whereas in the women's boxing, that shouldn't happen because there isn't 5 belts per division. There isn't other world-class opponents that you can flick back and forth and fight them instead. Like Fury's been saying this week, if it doesn't happen by Tuesday, I'm going to look elsewhere. Well, now it's Wednesday, and he's not looking elsewhere yet. So it's, pay them their worth, pay them the money, and get them to fight, because Marshall's got serious power. She's tall, she's lanky. You hit somebody and you're coming from a long distance and her timing is good, she's got a good chance of knocking you out. And to see Shields fighting in the UK or have it as a 2-fight special because they're the best in the world, have them, because I think Shields might be dubious after seeing that, the scorecard on the Bridges Courtenay. It's like, hold on a second, totally against the foreigner. She's not going to want that. So it's exciting. It's exciting for women's boxing, But if we move on to this Saturday, we've got the Welshman Liam Williams fighting the American world champion Demetrius Andrade. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's going to be a really big test for Liam. He's wanted this fight for a while, to be fair. I do quite enjoy his style, so I always follow what he's saying on Twitter. I think he's won all of his last 7 by knockout since losing those 2 to Callum Smith. But he's moved up to middleweight since then. I think
Liam
both
Smith.
them.
Liam Smith.
Liam Smith, that was it. Both of them are super welterweight. There's 4 of them. You can never tell.
Yeah.
What was it? So reading a lot of the interviews, because I think it's on DAZN this Saturday, and his confidence is quite infectious. I think I don't really know how he's done against southpaws before. I didn't really bother trying to have that much of a dig into it, but I'm always going to be biased towards a Welsh fighter in a world title fight. But if he can get past the power early of Andrade and sort of his awkward style, I think he can really get inside him if he sort of drag him into a war in effect and could win on the scorecards in that way. I don't know if he's got the power to knock him out because he's not fighting Andrew Robinson on BT Sport card as he's fighting a world champion who's he's never been finished or been defeated before. But again, there's some questionable opponents on his resume. I think you said a week or 2 ago, who's he really fought that's world class? I think it's been 1 or 2 recently while he's been defending his middleweight belt where they've accused him of overmatching people against him. I think he knocked Luke Keeler down 5 or 6 times in the early rounds, and I think he finished him, but in the later round there was another guy, I think Artur Akovov. That was a very controversial stoppage towards, I think, the 11th or 12th, quite late on, and referee said he was out on his feet, but I definitely don't think he was. It wasn't like the one we saw at the weekend with Connor Benn. But yeah, how do you think that one's going to go down? What are your thoughts on Andrade's?
It's a world title fight, and then it's very soon late. A couple of weeks after, 4 weeks after, you've got, for me, the fight of the year. I've been waiting for this one for 2 years. Billy Joe Saunders and Saul Canelo Alvarez fighting on Cinco de Mayo. I just think that, if Andrade's carrot will be that, because I know that for me, it's absolute crap that Canelo picks opponents and has avoided. He's never avoided anybody. He's fought 40 odd times. He's been a pro since before. I think he was 16 or 17 at the latest. He's only like 25 now, and I've been following him since the start. He was Saul Alvarez. Canelo's come on at a much later date in the last couple of years, but Saul Alvarez, when he was 17, 18, fighting full-blown adults and winning. He fought Floyd Mayweather when it was too early for him. He got given a lesson, but it would be a totally different result now. Obviously, because Mayweather's 65 years old. But if he'd fought him in his prime, I think it would have been a different result. But that's the carrot for him. So, I don't know. Williams is a good fighter. He's only lost, as you said, against Liam
Smith.
Liam Smith. Callum Smith's brother and Paul Smith's brother. But, Williams is a good fighter, but he's more of a... He's a fighter, not a boxer. So I think you mentioned awkward. That would have been the first word coming out of my mouth for Andrade. He's 6'1", 6'2". He fights on the back foot. He's southpaw. He cocks the left hand, and he sits back in his stance. So when Williams is coming forward, and to try and knock somebody out who's outside the pocket, he's outside your distance. How's he going to do it? Because if he comes forward and swings the right and tries to knock him out, then the counter punch is there for Andrade. I think Williams is only about 5'9", 5'10". My only thing for Williams is he's probably fought better opponents than Andrade. As I keep saying, I'm one for stats. I love my stats, and he's fought 29 fighters, and you wouldn't recognize any of them. Not a single one. If I read out his 29 names, you wouldn't recognize one of them. There's nothing on his CV, and he's calling out Canelo, and he's called out Billy Joe Saunders in the past. He's a nice guy because I've seen him a few times commentating for Sky, you know, and he's a likable character. But he needs to step up now. Once he's fought Williams, he needs to step up and fight. Even if he doesn't fight Canelo or Billy Joe Saunders, there's plenty of people just above Liam Williams's level. Who then you've beaten him. Now start calling out people. You know that. So for me, it's an awkward one for Williams. It's not an impossible task because he's only ever lost against, you know, Smith, who's fought, you know, a lot of good fighters. But it's just what's his tactics going to be to get around that awkward stance of Andrade? That would be I can see how Billy Joe Saunders would do it because he's technically fantastic. I can see how Canelo would get around it because he's relentless and he's got a good chin. So I can't see what Williams brings to the party to get around that. If he does, great, fantastic. I hope he beats him. But it's a tough one for me to go with Williams.
Yeah, I've been scratching my head looking for some justifications why I think he's going to win. So I've been watching a few of his previous fights in the build up to this. Tried to do a little slice about this on my own podcast as well, Dragon Sport. Please listen to it, guys. So I just thought I'd chuck that in there as well. But I think the main thing I could come up with, he's been training with Dominic Engel. I don't know if it's since the two Smith losses, but quite a while now he's been going up to Sheffield to train. I've noticed he's a hell of a lot better, sort of switching between his head and his body attack, and not just sort of being a headhunter, sort of trying to wade in and knock people out. I don't know if he'll be able to get a few decent shots in early, put some money in the bank, sort of start draining Andrade a bit, because he has got finishes later on his record against some overmatched fighters, but some of them are controversial stoppages. So it's how much does his power really translate later into the fight? Liam Williams has been in Vegas for no, it's not in Vegas. Sorry, it's in Florida. So follow him on Instagram and Twitter and that. He's been there for a few weeks now. So he'll have acclimatized to time change and that. So that's probably what affected too much, hopefully. Like you said, I don't think he's going to knock him out. I think he's about 5'10", so he's got a 3-inch height advantage on him, so I'll probably translate a bit into the reach as well. The other little saving grace I could find, so Liam Williams has beaten a guy called Alantez Fox before. Fox did lose a decision to Andrade back in 2017, but he did drop him early in that fight, so you know, he's been dropped by someone Williams has beaten before. If you want to cling on to that little tidbit, I'm sure Sky will bring it up, but that's all I could really find. But I'd like to, about time we had another Welsh world champion. I think since Lee Selby lost to Warrington, we haven't had any.
Yeah, so there, it's a good point. It's a good point, but it's interesting. There's nothing really on the undercard that takes my fancy. It's a good. It's a good one to talk about, but you know we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you're listening to Sport and Arium with Randolph and Martin. Friday night, 5 till 7. We've also got a YouTube channel where it gets uploaded by the weekend. That's Randolph and Martin's Sports Talk. Right, if we move on to the Premier League, this week what we do, we start from the bottom up. Sheffield United lost against I don't know, some mid-table team. Arsenal. That's it. They lost against your mid-table team.
The shit, mate. Someone has to watch him, you know.
3-0. So they're as good as down, really. Sheffield United. If we move up to West Brom, then they're clinging on to Premier League survival by you'd have thought 2 weeks ago that your next two games, Chelsea and Southampton, right, you're going to lose both of them. You're going to be 10 or 12 points behind Newcastle and Fulham. So you're going to be scrambling and you've pretty much got to win every game. And they've come out with a 5-2 win against Chelsea. Silva obviously got sent off with quite a way to go. So they put 5 past Chelsea. And then a few days back, they go and beat Southampton 3-0, and they had a goal chalked off for a ridiculous, I'm not even going to talk about VAR, but a ridiculous VAR decision. So they would have won, by 4. So their goal difference is on their way up. They're there or thereabouts now with Fulham, who they lost, didn't they? They lost on the weekend. So it's they're getting there with Newcastle, who are only, I think, 5, 6, 7 points behind. So another 2 or 3 wins with those other bottom teams. They're there. They're there or thereabouts. Did you see any of the any part of any of those West Brom games? That Pereira looks like a out and out Premiership player, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think he into when they put goals and assists together and how many goals you've been a part of. I think he was the top in the Championship last year. He's been fantastic.
Right.
I saw the Chelsea game. They it was definitely the sending off that cost them, but they did well to put 5 past Chelsea. And of course, Callum Robinson, can't say he only scores against Chelsea anymore because he got one of the ones against Southampton too, I think. Yeah, they just I think that was one of the criticisms of it was Bilic that was the manager at the start of the season, was it?
Yeah,
because he bought him up. I think they were saying, they weren't scoring enough goals and they weren't keeping them out at the other ends. And they've brought the merchant in that keeps teams up, haven't they? They've brought Big Sam in to do a job.
Yeah.
It's taken him a couple of weeks, couple of months, but he's finally sort of getting the message across. The players are playing how he wants. And I don't know if they usually score this many goals when he takes over and they start doing well and sort of clinging to the non-relegation places. But there's a chance they can do it. Fulham have been playing fairly well recently, but I think they've been sort of doing not just enough to win like they were when Parker first took over. I think they had a bit of a bounce and they had a few results where they started getting the result and maybe holding on and keeping the clean sheet. But I don't know necessarily whether a few of those teams' recruitment's been very good over the 2 windows because they haven't really added Premier League caliber players to the squad, maybe just sort of upper Championship or second tier European or foreign players that they've brought in. But, there's the constraints of the financial situations as well, because what's been going on over the world. Sheffield United are already down. They looked absolutely awful without being too horrible against us on a Sunday, and that's saying a bloody lot, quite frankly. I think Heckingbottom's completely changed his style. They're not as resolute defensively anymore, and they're not sort of working for it from what I saw. They're sort of trying to pass out and play out from the back, and it might work to bring them back up next season. And, you might know they're already down. He's trying to impart that so they're ready for the run in the Championship. But so it's them, and then West Brom are 19th. Is that correct? I should have got the table up in front of me.
Yeah, West Brom are second from bottom. I was just looking at the fixtures. They've got it's quite, I can't find them. I don't think they must perhaps they're playing on Friday. Everton Spurs.
Oh, the fixtures are dead weird this week. They've staggered them across the entire week, and
Everton Spurs.
Who has this many free evenings to watch football?
Exactly. Well, Newcastle playing West Ham on the weekend, and West Ham are pushing for Champions League. So if Newcastle lose that, if we presume that Newcastle will lose that, then you've got Fulham are playing Arsenal on Sunday, and I'd say Arsenal there. When you look at some of the other sides, like Wolves won their last game, obviously. Leeds beat Man City, which is a cracking win for Leeds. So they're all winning pretty consistently. Arsenal now they're into that groove as well. So you would have thought that they'd beat Fulham, which opens the door for West Brom, who it doesn't look like they've got a game until next. Well, I can't find it, but it looks like they've got a game next Thursday against Leicester. Yeah. And obviously Leicester, that's the trouble. The Leicester are pushing. Didn't Leicester lose? Didn't they? Who did Leicester play? Was it Man City? Man City beat them 2-0. Who did they play last?
Leicester. Hang on 1 second.
Who did they play last? Because they're third. You know, they.
Yeah. Oh, it was West Ham they lost to, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
that's
Yeah. So you know, and that was to bring West Ham closer to Leicester. I think there's a gap now of 7 points between Leicester and Man United. So you know, United have got a bit of because United had a cracking win against Spurs. You know, 1-0 down at Spurs' new stadium, and to come back and win 3-1 there was, especially after that disallowed goal, which we'll come on to United in a bit when we're moving up the table. But yeah, going back to West Brom, it's in their hands. You know, yes, they've got to beat somebody like Leicester, but when you look at Newcastle and Fulham, you know, they're not winning. The momentum is with West Brom, and momentum in sport it's like having an extra player. It's like having the crowd behind you. If you've got that momentum, you know, Southampton are a good mid-table, cemented Premier League team. You know, they've been there for years. You know, Chelsea, as I say, they lost Silva, but to play a Chelsea team who are 4th or 5th in the league, they're now in the semi-finals of the Champions League. You're second from bottom. You've had a terrible season. You still wouldn't bet against Chelsea, 10 man. You wouldn't bet against them beating West Brom, even with 10 men, because they've got class all through their squad. So to do them and to beat Southampton, they're going to be massively buoyant for their next game. They won't be bothered. It's Leicester. It's at Leicester, but that's 20 odd mile down the road, you know. So that's not going to bother them. So, you know, the Baggies fans are going to be a bit upbeat at the moment compared to the first, 5-6 months of the season. So I think that'll be good. Jumping above the next few, then we move up to Arsenal. As I said, creeping up the table, they're back to their winning ways. What are your thoughts on their revival? And what are they doing differently now that they consistently haven't been doing up until 4 weeks ago?
I honestly can't put my finger on it, to be honest. Because we're missing Kieran Tierney now. I think he's out.
We spoke about Arsenal every 5 minutes last week, and now I ask you about Arsenal, and you don't know.
And I'm absolutely clueless. Some of the players that haven't been performing have really started putting a shift. And again, I don't know whether a 3-0 scoreline against this Sheffield United team probably, you know, is putting a turd in tinfoil, isn't it, and pretending it's a silver bullion. Yeah. Lacazette scored twice, so I think he's 50 goals in the Premier League now, which is really good. I think he's one of our most underrated players. A bit like Firmino in the sense that he's not really a scoring forward. He does play a bit more of a false nine, but I'd say he's more of a striker than Firmino because he's got a hell of a powerful shot and he can lash one in. I think the defense is having a bit more stability now, but we played a really weird back four against Sheffield. Xhaka was playing as a left back, I think, and then Cedric Suarez was on right back, and then it was Holding and Chambers in the middle. And considering our defence at the moment, I do think Callum Chambers has been one of our most consistent players for the last few years when he's managed to shake off the injury. So it was good to see him get a clean sheet. It was the first clean
sheet as a youngster. Has he been there for a long time?
He was dead young when we got him from Southampton. Yeah, it was about the time like Oxlade-Chamberlain and they started selling all their players to Liverpool about the beginning of that stage. He's been there for years now, though.
It was quite a bit of money, wasn't it, for a youngster? I remember.
Yeah, it was. I think it was double-digit millions for a 21-year-old, which was crazy back then. You'd bloody be lucky to get him for under double digits now. Some of the players. Who was the other one that I was going to say? Oh, Leno as well. That was his first clean sheet in, I think it was 14th league game. That was going to be sort of 13 league games he'd gone without keeping a goal out, which, again, I do think without Bert Leno, we would probably lose a few more games because he does have a hell of a lot of saves to make with that defence. But I just think there's a bit more structure coming into the team now. So the newer players have settled down. Thomas Partey had a really good game. Again, you know, he's playing for Atletico Madrid. he should be really standing out in games like this and setting goals up like he did. I think it was Lacazette's second he got the assist for. Right. Well, that might have been a penalty. I can't remember. But yeah, I think a few more players are starting putting in a bit more of a shift. Not good to see Saka going off because we are a bit short of 10s at the minute. I think Ødegaard's got a bit of a niggle. Smith Rowe might be out for a couple of weeks as well, which he's been one of the standout performers for me this year. But again, he's another player that's finally been given a chance. I think he was on loan at Huddersfield for maybe 2 years. And then he had a year at, it was one of the German clubs, not like a top of the table, more of like a peripheral. Maybe like Hoffenheim or someone like that. But
right.
he's really shone in that 10 role. I thought he was more of a winger though. But we can't be relying on those sort of players. If you look at someone like Willian, what's he done since he's arrived? He's got to be on a really high contract, so 200k plus a week. That's what he was going to be on at Chelsea. I think we need to still persist with clearing some of the deadwood out come the summer. We're not going to win anything probably. I'd be surprised if we win the Europa League. We'll have played yesterday by the time this airs, but at the time of recording, we're playing tomorrow. It's 1-1 against Olympiacos, but they've got the away goal. So you'd like to think we'd beat them, but they knocked us out last year. So who knows, eh? Have you seen anything to note about Arsenal's revival, or do you want to move on? Because I've waffled about this for a while.
Not really, no. Just interested to know, what the makeup of the midfield is. Is that Pepe playing much? And so obviously you've got the standout performers up front, Lacazette. I rate Lacazette. I think he's a good player. And then obviously Aubameyang scores plenty of goals. So if they're back scoring, then that's obviously going to be part of the equation for them, gradually moving up. Well, saying that, it's the other teams slipping back as well. When you look at, I know that they're not in front of them at the moment, but you've got teams like you got Wolves. They've won a couple, but then when you look at teams like Everton, 3 or 4 weeks ago, they had 2 games in hand over Liverpool. If they'd won their games in hand, they'd be pushing for Champions League. West Ham have pushed on and won those crucial games against, as you pointed out, Leicester and teams like that. Whereas Everton, they drew. I think it was with Fulham. I think, but they drew on the weekend 0-0 or 1-1, and you're thinking you just need to push on, and you need to be whatever team they drew against, they should have been beaten. And if they'd won that game in hand, they'd have still had a game in hand over Liverpool, and they would have been above them. They'd have been in 4th or 5th. And really pushing for Champions League. I think they've missed the boat now. I think they're going to end up probably 7th or 8th, because Tottenham, I know they slipped up against United, but Tottenham have been winning recently. Mm-hmm. They're kind of top 5, top 6. Liverpool has started winning again. Yes, they're 4th, but it's a bit of a false position because there's some teams that have got games in hand, like Villa's got another game in hand. But I don't know. I just think that those teams at the end of the season, when they look back with 10 games to go, will be kicking themselves. The Evertons, the Villa at one point, they had 2 games in hand, but it's the Grealish effect there. He hasn't been playing, still out for another couple of weeks. If he'd been playing, he's, I know there's no such thing as a one-man team, but he's a big percentage of their everything. So I just believe that a few of those teams will be kicking themselves. And then when you move up the league, then Liverpool, as we've just mentioned, they've started winning again. They started nicking wins 1-0, and I think they're back up to 4th or 5th. They've negated all those teams that had games in hand, and they're pretty much everyone's nearly on an even keel now. They're all on 31 games, apart from the odd couple who are on 30. Chelsea, since the new managers come in, obviously they slipped up against West Brom, but they're now in the Champions League semi-final. Potential to win the Champions League, which is massive, and potentially top 4 in the Premier League. So I don't know what he's done differently to what Lampard would have done. Pretty much nothing. Just it's that bringing in a new manager philosophy that everybody's playing for their place. But what are your thoughts on slots 5 to 7, West Ham, Everton, Liverpool?
Yeah, recently, especially the team that's most impressed me has probably been West Ham out of all of them. Liverpool have picked up the form recently. They lost 3-1 to Madrid a week or two ago. I think it was a week ago. They've been playing. I've had the game on in the background while I've been recording. It's 0-0 at the minute, but they've had a few chances when I've glanced over and looked. Like they look like they're still in it very much. It's just a case of how long it's going to be until a few more of those players they need for the depth come back, and sort of how, if they get knocked out tonight by Madrid, Chelsea are going to have the Champions League to focus on, and they've got a decent chance of winning it. Because it's PSG in the last 4 as well. And it's looking like it's going to be Madrid, and then I don't know how City and Dortmund are getting on, but it was 2-1 on aggregate, so City were up. So they're a shoe-in for the title unless Ole can work an absolute miracle, and then he'll get a statue outside Old Trafford next to is it Bobby Charlton? Have I got that right? Is it Matt Busby? I don't know Old Trafford. You're the United fan.
Matt Busby's got.
That's the one.
I don't know whether there's a Charlton one there as well. It's a Ferguson one.
Or is it Bobby Charlton Way? Is that the bit? Or is it Matt Busby Way?
No, Matt Busby Way.
That's the one. No, I was getting confused. I'm not a United fan.
It's not Man City where they've got statues of all their top players who've played in the last 20 years because they haven't got a history. So Richard
Dunn and Paul Dickov and Benjani.
yeah. Joe Corrigan. But no, Borussia Dortmund, they're 1-0 up. Jude Bellingham scored after 15 minutes. So at the moment now it's 2-2, and Dortmund would go through with the away goal. I think it's the away goal counts in these situations. So
the 2 ties were settled on the away goal, I think, actually. No, Chelsea was 2-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chelsea went through by
PSG went through on away goals.
But Dortmund are 1-0 up. Bellingham, he scored tonight without having it disallowed for his high foot. So and after 50, so it's at the moment they're going through, and that would stop the quadruple. But West Ham, they're definitely the form team in out of those 5 to 7, 5 to 8. Yeah, I agree with Liverpool. They still got plenty of players to come back, but it's the strength in depth. They haven't got that strength in depth that a City could lose. A City haven't had Aguero for nearly 18 months. One of the best strikers in Europe. But equivalent to Van Dijk being in defence. You lose your striker, you lose goals, you lose a defender, you concede goals. So it's the same. It's the same thing. You lose one of your best players, and City have coped with it, and they're pretty much going to win the title, maybe the FA Cup, maybe the Carabao Cup, and maybe the Champions League, whereas Liverpool ain't going to win anything. And they've lost the same. So that's the difference. It's the strength in depth. Going back to Chelsea, they've done really well. Just a point on Willian. For me, it was a strange move. He's moved from Chelsea, who were a top 3 side, across London to Arsenal, a good side as well, top 3, top 5 side. But I thought he would have been first choice every week. I thought that, the team would have kind of been built around him. And he's been a bit part player. He's done nothing. He's scored goals on a regular basis for Chelsea. His assists in the last 5 years for Chelsea were big. I haven't looked at the stats, but I just know that off the top of my head that, he was a high scorer in the dream team. So he was always good for, a 7 out of 10 every week. So I don't know what's happened to him. And it's not like it's age, because you don't age overnight when you move from one team to another. It's not down to an injury, because he hasn't been properly injured, like with a broken leg or something. So for me, it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's got a few assists in the Premier League. I think 5 or 6. He's got 5 assists in the Premier League, but he hasn't scored in any of the competitions. Like you said, he was quite a high scorer. City have just equalised. By the way, Mahrez has scored a penalty that just flashed up. But Willian used to score. He was quite a bit of a dead ball specialist. He'd always crack a free kick in for Chelsea a few times a season. I don't know if I've said it a few times, but sometimes players, when they move laterally across London because they like living there, Giroud did it, but he hasn't got his feet under the table and got cozy, and he's just collecting his money. He's scoring goals. He's banging them in like he did when he was at Arsenal and Montpellier. I think Willian might have just got a bit comfortable, and maybe necessarily the style of play Arteta wants to impart doesn't really suit him, and that's why he's a lot of the time coming off the bench. And that I think he only really mainly starts when we're playing. So I mean, I know we're a mid-table team now, but when we're playing fellow mid-table teams and a bit lower, and he plays a fair bit in Europe. I think he's played 7 times, so most of the he's probably won't start me against Dundalk and that, will he? But he'll play most of the sort of tougher group games in the latter rounds. He has just been a bit part player though, and I think a lot of the new signings we've had over the last couple of years, excluding Aubameyang and maybe Tierney, they've just been bit part players that can maybe come on and do a job 3 or 4 times a season, can start a game and look lively and not really offer much. But if we are wanting to be serious about qualifying for Europe again, which isn't going to happen this season, I have no, I've got no doubt in my mind about that. We're not going to win the Europa League, definitely not. Don't think. I think you guys might actually. To be fair, greedy sods. You don't need another win at the Champions League. But I think Arteta just needs a couple of years to clear a bit more deadwood out the team. But Chelsea under Tuchel, they've been really good. I think before the West Brom game, they haven't lost under him, so it's quite good. But there's always that new manager bounce. But he is more of a name than Lampard. He's done Dortmund and did a couple of years at PSG. Was it? He was there last year when they got to the final, was he?
I think one other thing on that point is that for some reason, you got managers come in and they like certain players and they don't like other players, and they don't seem to get then a good crack of the whip. So like for this, there's 2 players that come to mind. One is already I've lost it already, but Marcus Alonso. He's he started off when he first came there. He was a left back. Then he moved to like an attacking left midfielder. And I remember the other one as well. And he's been brought back in and he's doing a job there. You've got Havertz had long COVID. He's back playing now. Werner's not scoring goals yet, but he will come good. And the other one was I had him a second. Pulisic. I know he was injured for quite a while under Lampard, but then when he was back, he hardly played, and he scored goals in the last few weeks. He's a class player. I think United and Chelsea were after him a few years ago, and there was like a bit of a tug of war, and Chelsea ended up getting him. And he's back playing now, and you can see why. So I think if you're open-minded and don't get stuck with that, I've got him, so I've got to play with him, and rotate it a bit. Say you've got they got Giroud up there with Werner. If Werner's not scoring, then you put Giroud in, and that's what Tuchel did. I think he didn't play Werner in the first game when he was the manager, and Giroud's been scoring goals, coming off the bench or starting. So he's a proven striker in the Premier League. He's tall, he's big, as opposed to Werner, who is faster. But it's what suits the Premier League. And what you mentioned there about Willian, maybe Arteta's thinking Willian's style suits European games. That's why he's playing in the European games. It's slower tempo, which may give Willian more time on the ball. I don't know, but Chelsea have been doing well. Leicester obviously up in third, still, punching miles above the weight for the same for the players that they've got. But when you look at some of the England internationals like Maddison, who's been out for quite a while, and Vardy, but on the whole, the amount of players they've got compared to lower teams like Spurs, plenty of money in the pot, and Mourinho as a manager, and lots of other Liverpool, Arsenal. You look at the players on their books compared to Leicester, they're massively punching above the weight again in third. What are your thoughts on them this season?
Yeah, like you said, they're punching above the weight. I think we touched on it before, but again, I think with Leicester and West Ham, mainly it's down to the recruit. Same with Villa, maybe to a point, because they sound like Watkins and that in the summer. But I think the recruitment at Leicester's been very smart. Fofana, he's just come back a couple of weeks ago from his injury, but before he was injured, he was looking like an absolute revelation. He's only like 22 or 23 years old, so he's still super young and he's going to grow into it. I'm not sure if he's back yet. Don't think he is, but Castagna, was it Atalanta they got him from? They'd had a good run in the Champions League that year, so he'd look quite tidy as a wing back for them. They got Soyuncu a couple of years ago when he was a bit younger. He's grown into quite a decent player. Keeping an eye on him for the Euros because we've got Turkey in our group. Trying to think who else they've signed in recent years. I mean, the youth players they bring through as well, though. You look how much Harvey Barnes has come on this season. He was a threat with his pace and his ability to cut inside. Inverted winger, isn't he, playing on the left? He showed sort of glimpses of that before, but he's really come on as a threat this season. I know he didn't come through the system like Barnes, who I've just mentioned, but James Justin, I think they got him from Luton a few years ago. He's really started to push on. There's that young left back, Luke Thomas, as well. He's got a few roles off the bench, and I think he started a few games too. It's just down to the smart recruitment, and they did lose Mahrez and Kante from that the title winning side. So like Huther Morgan have retired. Fuchs is old and past it now. Albrighton still does a job here and there. Whatever happened to Danny Drinkwater? Is he still at? I think he's on loan at Villa now from Chelsea, but he sort of tapered off. They've actually replaced their players that have gone on and moved on or retired and gone past it. A lot of teams haven't. Same West Ham. Look at the Czech mafia they've built over there. Souček and Koufal assists and goals every week. The Lingard loan as well. I mean, you're a United fan, so you probably have a better idea about Jesse Lingard than me. Personally, I can't stand the bloke, but he's been absolutely phenomenal since he joined West Ham. And I don't know what kind of Mexican horse meat they're putting in his pasta, but whatever supplements they're giving him are truly working. Would you, out of those top teams then around the sort of echelons of the top four, who's going to make it into? I think City and United are shoo-in for the top two now. Who do you think is going to take third and fourth?
I think West Ham, like you just mentioned, if I was United, I'd be snapping Lingard back. But as he walks into the training ground, just take his phone off him and disable his Instagram account. I think that was, concentrate on your football. You were scoring goals as an England international. 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was there as an England international playing for one of the biggest teams in the world. And then it's kind of down to the management that you've got. Like, you look at, Alex Ferguson never in a million years would have let that happen. He sold Beckham, he got rid of, certain players who thought they were above their station at the time. There's one sentence, and it's no player is bigger than the club. So when you've got people there and they're on Instagram and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Concentrate on your football and your training. That's what's paying your wages. Everything else is bullshit. So I don't know what's happened since, whether he's gone down there and they've gone, look, yeah, you're on loan with us, but this is what's got to change, because I don't follow him on any platform. But I know that was the case when he was at United. So whether it's changed, and he was told, with the flea in his ear, we're putting you out on loan, and this is what you've got to change and grow up. And whether he's done it and he's performing now he's in London now as opposed to in Manchester where he was for a few years. So change of scenery, may have been good for him. Your ability doesn't change. When you're on the pitch and you're making runs into the box and you're timing like a Dele Alli kind of character, that doesn't change overnight. You don't become a bad player. You know, if you're 20 years old and you're playing for Man United, when you're 40 years old, you'll still be able to kick a football. You know, so to go from, you know, whatever age he is now to 3 years ago, you don't all of a sudden become a bad player. You get into bad habits with, you know, hangers on or whatever it may be. He's lost, and he's playing very well, so he should come back to United, I think, for a key player. Obviously, they got Bruno Fernandes there. Pogba's back now. You know, we may as well just link on to United now, and you know, since we've been talking about West Ham, I think West Ham are there. United, yeah, they're 7 points clear now of third, of Leicester, barring, and I don't think they've got that many tough games left in the last, you know, however many games are left in the next 6-8 games. You know, they've recently beat Man City. They're on the up. You know, to beat Man City and Spurs, Spurs away. You know, Spurs are a tough team. You know, they normally park the bus, especially with Mourinho there, with 5, 6, 7 games to go. I think they're already there. A big bonus for Pogba to come back. I know that Sean, one of our Liverpool friends who's on Sportinarium, he was saying when I interviewed him a few months back, you know, Pogba's going to be missed. And, you know, to be fair, he was right. He was missed. We didn't lose too many, but we gave away goals and conceded to have too many draws. And that was the problem when he was away. I think Fernandes didn't look himself without Pogba there. The defense is pretty tight, you know, with Luke Shaw. Henderson's been playing well as well as De Gea. When Henderson was there, he's had some solid games. Maguire, I think the centre backs of Maguire and Lindelof, there'll need to be an overhaul of some sort in the centre of defence. That's gonna need change. When you look at you look at City and they've got Laporte, Diaz, and Stones, and all of them would be in before our centre backs. So you've got to do something there. And up front, obviously, Cavani against Spurs, fantastic. Scored and one disallowed, which we will come on to in a minute. Martial looked fantastic against Man City. He looked like he performed in the big game because, you know, eyes are on you in the big game, but he needs to perform, you know, in other games as well, not just the big games. You know, Rashford's playing well, so they've got strength there, but 2 or 3 players in specific areas should push City for next year, you know. But yeah, on that disallowed goal, the Scott McTominay against Tottenham, I just thought that I find it hard to even think of a sentence to describe how bad it was. It's turning football into a non-contact sport. You're running away from an opponent. You've got the ball. You're running away from an opponent. You feel him pull you back on your shirt, you know, below your chest, just above the waist level. So the first thing you're going to try and do, you're not going to try and run with a guy holding on to you. You're going to try and knock his arm away. So he's put his arm behind him, you know, shoulder length, and he's caught Son, you know, in the face. He's caught, you know, you can't even say caught him in the face. He's touched him, as, you know, go away, lad. Get your arm off me so I can carry on running. I'm in front of you. I've got the ball. Move away, and he's gone like that. Son's gone down like he was being shot in the army when he was on, his sabbatical with the. Where's he from? Where's Son from?
Oh, South Korea. They have to do military service.
So he had his military service. It looked like a sniper shot him in military service. Let's be honest, it's unbelievable. He's rolling along the floor, you know, which is pathetic. But for the ref to go across to VAR, look at it and go, yeah, that's a foul. How on earth is that a foul? You know, you go. Oh, I'm going to start swearing.
I can't tell you, mate, because it's not a foul at all. Last time I checked in the rules, football is not a completely non-contact sport, like say basketball, for example. Nowadays, where you have those really annoying, over-exaggerated falls, where it looks like, in those car lots, they have the flappy men, and when you deflate them, they sort of fold in half like a deck chair. The thing is, like, if you can argue he's put his hand in his face, yes, that's exactly what he did, but he's not looking at Son when he's doing it. Like you said, it's more of a sort of handoff maneuver because he's having his shirt pulled. Is that not a foul in the first place if he's pulling his shirt? Because I thought it was. He's gone down like a sack of potatoes being dropped down a service lift. I just can't understand what's going on with the game. Should VAR be able to review things like that in a lead up to a goal? Because could you call that a potential issue of violent conduct? It's not violent in any way. Like I can't tell you how it was a foul, mate, because it wasn't. It should have been a 4-1 win. You might not have conceded the goal if because it was before Spurs scored. You got the first one, was it?
Yeah, they scored a couple of minutes later. But if that had been a TMO in rugby, Son would have had a yellow card.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's pathetic. It's absolutely. You see people dive in like Harry Kane and Martial and Salah, and it's like that's you're shaking your head, and people rightly do get yellow cards for simulating the dive. That's simulating an injury. He's literally tapped him. He didn't even know he hit him in the face. And again, he didn't hit him in the face. He touched him, and he's gone down and he's rolling around. It's gone. It was a cracking goal by Cavani. Then step through. Cavani scores. Goal. End of story. Ref should have gone over, looked at it, and he was there for about 2 seconds. He didn't, show me another angle, show me the build up to it from 5 seconds before, show me McTominay going through and Son pulling his jersey back. As you said, that's a foul in the opposite direction. And then you see an arm. He hasn't even turned round. He's just flung his arm back. It's not. And then you had Roy Keane. He's obviously going to be pro United. You had Micah Richards, who's Man City, so he would have been against United, and that's never a foul in a million years. This isn't football. And then you had Jamie Redknapp, who's Liverpool, so who's anti-United, and he was ex-Spurs, so he would have been, and he was, this isn't football, this is ridiculous. So you had three pundits who potentially could have gone, yeah, it's a free kick, and they're shaking their heads in disbelief like we are now, so it's killing. VAR is killing the game. It's killing the game. And I don't want to talk about VAR because it's just, it's ruining the game. But yeah, for United, to be fair, Solskjaer, he's only been in it, he's 18 months he's been there. And for armchair United fans, social media fans to be calling for his head 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it just shows how little they know about football. 18 months, they're in the semi-finals or quarter semis now, I think, isn't it? Oh, no, tomorrow. If they win tomorrow, they'd be in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
Semi-finals of the Europa. They're second in the league, so they'll be in the Champions League next year. So they potentially have the ability now to buy a couple of players in the summer. Mm-hmm. And, they're doing well. So it just goes to show these people who comment on football who know nothing about football, just start watching Coronation Street on a Wednesday or Thursday night instead, because it's funny. It's funny to listen to. But yeah, I think United. What are your thoughts on United?
I thought they played really well, especially against Spurs. I thought Ollie, especially in the second half, he set you up really well to come back out and attack. Yeah, like you said before, you know what Mourinho's going to do. He's going to set 11 behind the ball and pray you get sort of quick break on the counter attack. I think we've both said it before on previous episodes, actually, but I definitely think United play much better when you have a focal point or like an actual number 9 like Cavani his goal, the one that was actually allowed, because he should have had two, bless him. The diving header, cracking finish. You don't get wingers playing as a false nine doing that. You need a striker who's a finisher to go in and do that. Poacher like he is.
Cracking cross as well.
Yeah, it was great. Who put the ball in for? Was it Shaw or?
No, because it was from the right.
From the right, yeah.
I don't think it was Wan-Bissaka either. I'm trying to think who it was. It wasn't. I don't think it was McTominay, but it was. Was it maybe Fernandez? I think it might have been Fernandez. Maybe. It was a cracking crossing.
He did. I think the Fred goal as well. It was a rebound off a Cavani shot. So he was getting in there all game. He was causing spit. I know they've got their defensive problems at the minute, but he was giving their centre backs a run around. I thought. I just think when you play with the number 9, I think Marshall does do well when they play him in the middle. He can score goals from the middle, but he's a wide player who wants to cut in onto his stronger foot and crack it in. I think when you have someone who you can sort of ping off and can do the hold-up play, he's a big, strong lad as well. He gets up there and he wins headers. That brings those wide players into the game a bit more. You said Rashford's been playing really well recently. We playing him down the right, I think, and Marshall on the left. Was that how you set up? Can't quite remember.
Yeah. I think Cavani's. They need to keep him because he's an out-and-out striker. He's a goal scorer. He's all over the park. He headed in his own area. He was heading away. That was potentially a Spurs chance, and he got in there in defence. I think it was a minute or two before he scored the goal with his head, or a minute after. And he's back. He's back on his own doing a goal line clearance. So he's all over the park. So I think he's 33, but he's an athlete. So I'd be signing him for another couple of years. I wouldn't let him go. At the end of the season, they need. He's an out-and-out striker, and you will get players learning from him, like the Rashfords and the Martials, because he's been about a bit. He's an international. He's a class player. City, 11 points clear. Champions elect already, do you think?
Definitely, yeah. Even they lost 2-1 to Leeds at the weekend. And I do have a bit of a soft spot for Leeds because I did bartend at Ellen Road for a little bit a couple of years ago. But I thought City played quite well and Leeds just set up very well, defended resolutely, even with 10 men. Cooper got sent off right at the end of the first half as well. It wasn't a great tackle. I didn't actually see it. I was on me because it was the early kickoff. I was checking some on my phone and then saw they were going to VAR and they'd sent them off. I was like, oh God, what's this? Just saw the replay. Oh, yep, fair enough. But City made a few changes. I think I want to say 5 or 6. So it's half your team, isn't it? You could sort of tell that those same players weren't in there. Like, sort of the patterns of play weren't quite there, or they were overhitting passes, or players not making runs at the right time or a bit late or something like that. And Bielsa's a sort of manager who, exactly how he's going to set up, and you've got to sort of break him down. They're going to be in your face for 90 minutes. And for Stuart Dallas, both his goals were really good. Did you see the Leeds City game?
Only a bit of it. I saw one of the goals. I didn't see. I saw one of Dallas's goals, not the second one. And I was just surprised that, to beat the team that's probably going to win the league, and you've got 10 men. It's crazy. Again, another team that's around about 9th, 10th, 11th. They're past the 40-point mark now. Potentially going to get over 50 points. I know that they've got two. I think they've got to play. Yeah, United, or they've got 2 with Liverpool. They've got 2 or 3 really tough games, but then they've also got 2 or 3 winnable games. So there's potential there in their first season to get above 50 points and to be in the top 9. So that'll be a fantastic return for them.
Definitely, they spent quite a bit in the summer as well, didn't they? I know Rafinha cost a fair bit. Can't think of it. Rodrigo came in. A few of the midfielders as well. They've had to buy that Llorente, that centre back that seems to have paper kneecaps, which is never good in a defender. But in this modern game, you can roll around and win a foul for everything, as we've just discussed.
Yeah.
For me though, it's just really nice to see a historically prestigious team like Leeds. I know they've had their ups and downs over the past 30 years, was it ish? But it's great to see him back. Ellen Road's a cracking ground as well. If you ever want to see an atmosphere on a Saturday, I know you're a United fan, so you might not agree, but I think Leeds have some of the best support in the world. And to see that when fans are finally allowed back in and Ellen Road's bounced, and I think that's going to be a special place for people to go and play. But I thought they would maybe not finish as high as they are, but I thought they'd probably finish around 13th, 14th. I didn't think they'd get rolled over. Maybe in the bigger games like City, United, Chelsea, they might nick a result like they did against Chelsea, but I didn't think they'd get rolled over in a lot of the games. I thought they'd put up a good fight, maybe sort of lose to like the Evertons and Villas, but they've done astoundingly this season, and mostly that's down to Bielsa, I'd say, because he's just such. Yeah, you hear Guardiola saying it. He thinks he's the best coach in the world. Says it all to me.
Yeah, we've got a friend of the show, Wayne Price. Yeah, I don't know whether you've met him yet. He lives in America.
Don't think so.
He's been on the show quite a few times. He runs a football coaching academy out in the States, and he's a Leeds fan. We've had him on a few times, over the course of this season, and they're he was looking, everybody looks for 40 points at the beginning of the season, and he was thinking that they probably get there, but even up until they're on 30 odd points halfway through the season, and he was still nervous just to get to the 40. So to be fair, I don't really know much about Bielsa, but he obviously he's talked about it at length over the past 6 months. And he said he's a fantastic coach. You won't get a fitter side in the Premier League because of what he does, and he's a bit of a maverick. He walks around Leeds, and he's a fag in his hand, and walks into a shop, and because a lot of people wouldn't recognize him. So he's that kind of character. Shout out to Wayne as well, because unfortunately he was playing football last week and he broke his neck. So he's in hospital at the moment. So hope you get better soon, Wayne. A picture you sent me this week of you in your collar, and after your operation, you should get well soon. And I know you won't be back playing football, but you'll be back on the show soon before the end of the season, no doubt. So we'll have a chat about that and his beloved Leeds, hopefully getting to above 50 points. He's a Welshman from Carmarthen, and he lives in America, and he's that much of a supporter that he went to Australia to watch Man United in a pre-season game down in Australia against, I can't remember, it's a top team like Real Madrid or something like that. They were losing 3-0 half time. They might have even been playing Man United. I think they were playing Man United, Leeds were. And he went there, stayed for the half time, and then left, and then travelled all the way back to America. He's been to Russia from Wales, driving a car, because so he's done some ridiculous trips. But some of the stories that I've heard from him, you won't get much more of a Welsh fan than him, because he went to Russia to watch Wales. He's been all over the world. It's crazy. But we'll have him back on as soon as he's better, because he's very knowledgeable regarding Leeds and Wales. But yeah, he'll be happy that he messaged me when they beat City. He was over the moon. But yeah, and then City, as you say, top of the league. Got all the players. Aguero's back. I know he's leaving at the end of the season. We've mentioned about who's going to come in and potentially who's going to come in. But yeah, top of the league. They are. What's happening now? They're now winning. Phil Foden scored, so they're 4-2 up. So they're probably going to end up now in the Champions League semi-finals alongside Chelsea, Real Madrid, and who's the other one?
PSG.
And PSG. So that's a cracking lineup there. So they're in everything. Foden's popped up again. World class English player. Bellingham scores for Dortmund. Another England starlet. So it's looking good for England. But yeah, on the City front, I can't see. They're not going to bother with the league now because they're so far ahead. So they can concentrate on one final, what couple of semi-finals. So they've got 3 or 4 games to concentrate on, which is a massive plus for them because you look at the other teams, Real Madrid, they've still got to concentrate on their league. PSG, I don't know what they're in. They've probably run away with their league. They normally do. Yeah. So, but they've got a fighting chance to win all 4. I wouldn't bet against them. What are your thoughts?
Definitely not. No. I was going to say it's just a case of who they draw in this round of the Champions League. I think the way Spurs played against United, can't see him. City could probably put a mostly second string team out and still get a 1-0 or a 2-1 over Spurs the way they've been at the minute. I was chatting to my mate the other day, actually. He was just become a dad. So I've just become a godfather. Well, he's become a dad for the first time, so I've become a godfather. Congratulations, Jack and Kia, on the birth, little Marlo. We were saying, actually, we've seen a few generations of footballers come through at the being the tender age of 24 now. So we had a bit of a discussion, and the answer we came up with was yes. And the question was, is Phil Foden the best footballer you've ever seen come through for his age and the talent that he is? Like, to us, it's honestly mind-blowing how good this kid is for his age, and he just seems to keep cropping up and scoring goals. You know, you did sort of have an idea it was going to happen when Guardiola was using him off the bench and he was sort of turning 1-1s into 2-1s, or, you know, sort of opening the game up with a crossfield ball or something. But this season especially, and I think it's probably down to the extra exposure to first team football, he's getting many more minutes in his legs now. He just seems to be coming on leaps and bounds every game. And, you know, they've turned it around today again away in Dortmund. It's tough, even without fans, it's a tough place to go. You know, Dortmund now to set a team up, and I think Maro's got the penalty about 55 minutes and he's just given them the lead. I don't know how long they've got left. You contrast that with Liverpool, who I've got in front of me now. They're doing quite well. It's still 0-0, but they're just not been able to break this Madrid team down all game. So you think City are on for the quadruple? Because I'm going to say yes. I think they're going to do it.
They've got a good chance because, you know, the Carabao Cup final is one-off game, FA Cup semi-final. They don't, as you said, they can rest their players now for the league. You know, they're 11 points ahead of United. I think it's 11 points ahead. 11, yeah. So they don't need to worry about the league. So people like Foden, De Bruyne, you know, play Aguero in some of the league games to give him some game time. I definitely wouldn't play him in things like the Champions League because he hasn't played. So maybe if you know, second leg of the semi-final, maybe put him in. But I just think that the team they've got now, you know, De Bruyne's world class. Foden for me is he's. 2 years ago, I was banging on about him to a couple of my mates, and they were, you know, never even heard of him. You know, he's only playing like 20 minutes once every 3 or 4 weeks. If he's that good, why isn't he playing? But he's gradually brought him in. Now he's playing every game. He's first name on the team sheet. You know, any important game, he's first on the team sheet. He's not even rotated. He only doesn't play if they're playing against a Sheffield United or a bottom side. Anything from team 11 or 12 in the league upwards, he's first on the team sheet. He's playing every game. You know, he's only 20, whatever he is, 20, 21. He, you know, played in the England World Cup winning under 21 side or under 19 side, wherever it was. And he's there now. He's world class. And City wouldn't sell him for 150 million. They know how good he is, this player is. So to have him in the side with De Bruyne, they're lacking a striker, like we've mentioned in the last few weeks. Which they will address once Aguero goes. They will bring in somebody who's world class. They will spend whatever on bringing whoever. We don't want to go on about Messi and or who they're going to try and bring in, but I just think that's all they're lacking now. Cancelo, Diaz, you know, Kyle Walker, Mendy. You could just name 7 or 8 defenders who would walk into any Premiership side. You know, midfield, I think tonight, Bernardo Silva's got an assist. He hasn't played much. He's an excellent player who's only playing a bit. Mahrez is playing 50-50. He scored tonight. Gundogan, scored 3 or 4 goals when De Bruyne was out with injury. They've just got class running through every part of apart from up front, where they've only got Jesus, who also scores goals. But, if you want to be the top team in the world, you've got to have a world-class striker. I just think that they're head and shoulders above everybody else. And if they meet PSG in the final, then, and it's another 6 weeks, 7 weeks down the line, and you might have fans back by then. Maybe even if it's only 10,000, it'll make a difference. But yeah, they're just. I wouldn't bet against them for the quadruple. I just think that they're playing unbelievable at the moment. You can't back against them. They've had a blip against Leeds. It's one game. And as I said, they could have another 4 blips this season because they're resting players. As you mentioned, they changed 5 players. So the system was different and, this, that, and the other. But I don't know. I just don't think that they're going to slip up anyway. If they do slip up, it'll be the Champions League. Because they're playing against, excellent players. But when you put somebody like Neymar against Diaz and Laporte, I think they'll nullify him, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pierre, I think Neymar and Mbappe over the 2 legs against Bayern were exceptional. Probably Mbappe in the first and Neymar last night. He was so sharp on the counter attack. I think twice he hit the woodwork, and they did test Neuer a fair bit. But because it's the semi-finals where you can have, or is it from the quarterfinals? You can have teams from each country playing each other. If they draw Chelsea, I think they'll win.
Anyone can draw anybody now.
Yeah. So if they draw Chelsea, they'll win. If they draw Madrid, I think they had Real in their group, didn't they? Am I making that up? Was it Spurs that had them in their group?
Oh, I can't remember. Didn't they? Did they knock out Juventus or not? Weren't they in the same group? Was Ronaldo's group in? I can't remember. I'm not sure.
No.
But
that's okay. But I don't know how they'll fare against Madrid. I think they've probably got the beating of him. I think looking at Madrid's defence, they're keeping Liverpool out tonight. But I think Milito and I don't know the other one they play, Nacho Fernandez and Eder Milito. They're not really 2 big names. They've been partnering well together, but they've sort of got the holes City can look to pick apart. It's PSG if they draw them in semi-finals. That might be tough, but if they get them in the final, it's only over 1 game, isn't it? So you only need that 1 performance in 90 minutes, and surely if anyone can do it, it's Guardiola. And he's taken on Pochettino. I don't think Pochettino's teams regularly beat Guardiola's side, so he's got that mental edge over him probably as well. And he's done it with Barcelona. He's done it with Bayern before. And no reason he can't do it with City, I think. But it's just a case of it, the draw, like we said, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got good strikers. Every other part of the park, City rule. And it's ironic, really, that we've just said City haven't got a strike force, whereas they've got Neymar and Mbappe. But everyone else on the park, I think City win. So as long as they do well in defence, they could easily score goals against them. So I just think that it's a tough one, and hopefully they meet in the final. It'll be a good spectacle. Chelsea lose against whoever they play unless it's Real Madrid, and then there's a 50-50 chance. Because I think Madrid are, they're nothing to what they were even 3 years ago, let alone 7, 8, 9 years ago. And even 2 years ago, since Ronaldo's left, that big mistake that they made. So, I just think that, City, PSG, unless they play each other, and then it'll be whoever wins against Real Madrid. I don't think Chelsea got much chance. They're the weakest of the 4 teams left. But well done for getting to the semi-finals. We'll get on a Chelsea fan in a couple of weeks when it comes to the semi-finals. We'll get Carl on, who's a Chelsea fan. yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, that's it really for tonight. We've done all the boxing, we've done all the football. Hopefully, Liam Williams comes away with the world title on the weekend. There's the Europas coming up obviously tomorrow night, and there's quite a lot of boxing coming up with the Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo, and Fury against Anthony Joshua saga still playing along. Hopefully, hopefully by this time next week there'll be a date, there'll be a time, there'll be a venue, and monetary wise they may say what the purse is and all that kind of stuff, and we'll be able to talk, gradually build up then over the next probably 2 to 3 months, because I presume it will be in, what are we in now, April, so May, end of June, beginning of July, because they'll want 8 weeks. Obviously they're training for it already, because I know that Fury looks as if he's lost quite a bit of weight and he's looking pretty sharp. So it'll be we'll have quite a lot to talk about with that in the next few weeks. I know the next on Sport and Area is AD, with his what do you call it? With his record player spinning a few tunes, and then we've got Thomas Bryce on in America at 10 o'clock. He's always a lively character to have a listen to. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening to Randolph and Martin on Sport and Area on Friday night. And I'll see you next week, Mart.
See you next week, mate. Thank you very much, guys.
No worries. Ta-da.